What's going on, guys? This is episode 3 of the Going for Two podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Waldrop. And this is my co-host, Janssen. Janssen, how we doing today, buddy?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Doing well. Just excited to dive into some ACC football, talk about the AP poll a little bit. Pardon me, my chair's a little wobbly today. Yeah, man, let's get right on into it. Let's not waste a lot of time. I'm excited. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
All right.
If you haven't yet, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Going for Two podcast with Janssen and Hunter. And if you have Twitter, go drop us a follow on Twitter. That's where we post all of our latest episodes that we have dropped at going_for2. And if you have Spotify, go check us out on Spotify at the Going for Two podcast with Janssen and Hunter.
All right. Well, this is the preseason AP poll that the Associated Press obviously put out. We're not going to go deep into every single team, but we have a too high, too low, just right, not listed category for some of these teams. I'll start with the too high. I think it's pretty simple. Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Pitt, all three of those teams are, put where they are and ranked as high as they are due to the season they had last year, maybe not based off of the talent they have on their roster right now. But I mean, I think that it'll all play itself out for sure. But those three teams in particular, I definitely think were definitely rated higher than I would have them personally. But yeah. Wisconsin and Pitt, or I should say Wisconsin and Texas A&M. Texas A&M, I think they're as high as they are because of the recruiting class they brought in last year, or this past recruiting cycle, I should say. Maybe not based off of, how good they are to start the season. I don't think they've earned the 6th spot. I do think top 13 is, probably
Suitable
the
for
spot
them.
I'd put them at. Yeah.
I
I think 6 is just too high. And then Wisconsin, well, if you listened to our Big Ten episode last week, you know how I feel on Wisconsin, so I'm not even going to go deep into that one. You can go ahead. You want to cover the too low?
I think Wisconsin's perfect in the top 25, but 18's kind of, especially in front of Arkansas and Kentucky, I think they're reaching a little bit there.
Yeah. I'll let you cover the too low section real quick, and then I'll do just right.
So in the too low section, we got Arkansas, Baylor, Kentucky, and Michigan. I think this year Michigan will be as good, if not better, than they were last year. They only lost a couple key players in their program, but they have Cade McNamara coming back. They've got J.J. McCarthy. We don't really know what the quarterback situation is going to be there. But as of right now, we know that Jim Harbaugh has Cade McNamara as the starting quarterback. And I think that they should be ranked higher than Notre Dame. I think they should be ranked higher than A&M. But I think Utah's perfect where they're at. And I think there's an argument there for both. You could say that Utah's better than Michigan, and I think you could say that Michigan's better than Utah. I mean, I think it goes by the person and what they – I think everybody could argue something about that. So, and then Baylor, I think Baylor they won the Big 12 last year, beating OSU by inches, which I think that they are going to be better than OU this year. I think they're going to be better than A&M, and I think they're going to be better than Notre Dame this year. So I think 10 is kind of too low for them, in my opinion. I think you could say the same, Hunter. And then Kentucky, everybody knows how I feel about Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to be one of the best teams in the SEC this year. And I think 20 is so low for them, especially behind Michigan State, who lost Kenneth Walker, their main power player on the team. And then, but I think Kentucky is way too low, especially behind Pitt and then Michigan State and then even Oregon. I think Oregon's too high I think Kentucky should be in front of Oregon, and then Michigan. Michigan, they didn't really lose that many key players to their program. I think they're going to have a good season just like they did last year, and I think that they have a shot at making the playoff this year. But I don't know. It's too soon to predict that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I'll finish this off with Arkansas. Look, Arkansas at 19 is just straight up disrespectful. I think they are a top 12, top 10 program right now.
I
And
agree.
I just think putting them at 19 is just going to make them play even better than they already were.
Yeah,
I
getting a
think
lot of
they're
fire
probably
under, but
I think
yeah,
they're probably the most physical team in the SEC, just especially between the tackles. Um, and that's where games are won. They're won in the trenches. And, I think Arkansas, I think they're going to finish second in the West. And I think 19 is just way too low
I
for
agree.
that team.
I agree.
And then just right, I think the top four, I think that's fine. Especially, we'll focus on the top three real quick. Those are the top three teams in the nation right now. No doubt, they've earned them. I think that's actually the top three teams in the nation when the season starts, and when the season ends. I think that'll still be the top three teams, but I don't know if they'll be ranked in the top three. Um, but I think you can make a case for any of those teams to be one, any of them to be two, and any of them to be three. But I think that order, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, is the right order. Clemson at 4, they're good. They returned a lot on defense. We'll get more into Clemson here in a little bit. But and I think, last year, 10-2, it's a really good season for any program, but because of the, pedestal that we've set Clemson on top of, it was a disappointment.
Yeah,
But I do think they do have a top 4, top 8 team in the nation.
I agree.
Utah in the top 10, right outside the top 5. Love it. They gave Ohio State a run for their money. I think they're going to be really good, and I think Utah is going to be something special this year. And this is the year for them to win the Pac-12. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I know they won it last year, but this is the year for them. They're not going to have another window to make the college football playoff, I don't think,
Yeah,
like they do right now. 11 through 16, I think Oregon right outside the top 10 is fine, maybe a little lower, but I'm not going to complain. Uh, and then Oklahoma State, NC State, USC, Michigan State, Miami. I think all those teams have earned the right to be right in the middle of the pack, and I actually think they're all in the right order. Maybe have Miami a little bit higher than Michigan State, but Michigan State, after that incredible year they had last year, that I think 15's fine to put them there.
yeah,
And then 21 through 25, I know it's the bottom half for sure. Ole Miss being ranked, I like it, and I think that's actually a really good spot for them to be at. Wake Forest, they earned a top 25 ranking from last year, I'd say. Now this year, now with Sam Hartman being out, I don't think they'll stay in the top 25 too long. Cincinnati making the playoff, falling all the way from 4 to 23, but you can't have a team make the playoff last year and then not rank them in the top 25.
you,
So I think that's fine, leaving them there. I don't think there's an issue, and I think U of H or Houston, as I should say,
the Cougs.
um, yeah, the Cougs. I think they will be the best Group of 5 team in the nation this year,
I
and
agree.
I respect the AP poll for acknowledging the Group of 5 towards the end. And then BYU, they've had a really good past 2 seasons. Zach Wilson last year, and then or 2 years ago, I should say, during the COVID year, and then even last year they had a nice little win streak, and they were right outside the top 10 there for a while. And so, I mean, I don't have an issue with putting them at 25, but I don't think they should be on up there instead of Tennessee. And I don't know if y'all know this, but Penn State was ranked number 4 at one point last year. Um, and then
When
they lost to
Bama lost
Iowa.
to
Yeah.
A&M, yeah.
Y'all know how I feel on Minnesota. I'm pretty high on them. I think they'll row that boat all the way into the top 20, top 15 this year. And then Texas, just because, well, they're Texas. But I think it's the good thing for the Texas team that they're not in the top 25. And the reason for that is because they've always been put in the top 25. And they've always just been put in there because of their name.
Yeah,
And I think this is going to give them a chip on their shoulder. Like, you got to earn it. And I think this is kind of the same thing with Tennessee. Like, they're like, you got to earn it. Like, yes, we know y'all are talented, and yes, y'all are just right on the outside about to get in, but you got to earn it. And so, I
I
mean,
agree.
besides that, I really don't mind this AP poll. I actually think it looks pretty solid. definitely could be some adjustments, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right?
Yeah. But I mean, like, let's go back to the 21 through 25. I mean, I think you could really make a argument for either of those teams to be, you could put them wherever you wanted. You could have U of H at 21, you could have Ole Miss at 25. I mean, you got an argument for everything. So, I mean, I'm okay with the way that it's set out right there. I mean, I don't think, like you said, I don't think Wake Forest will finish the season in top 25 because of Sam Hartman being out, and I definitely do think that U of H has a shot at being a top 20 team for sure. And then Texas,
Most
like,
definitely.
everybody is doubting Texas, and they're saying Texas isn't back, and I agree with them because, I mean, Texas, in my opinion, will never be back. But this year, I mean, they have Quinn, which is kind of scary because they didn't know if he was going to start or not. So that kind of puts me on edge if he's actually going to be the real deal or not, or if he's just going to be a bust. And then they have Bijan Robinson in the backfield. I mean, that's amazing. You have Quinn throwing him flats, and then just give him the rock is all I got to say is because
Give him the rock. Yeah, but I mean, another thing that I've heard from Texas camp is they're not looking too healthy. They already have their number 2 receiver out for the season, and then they've already lost they had a 6-year offensive lineman who's supposed to be the core of the line, the leader. He's probably going to be out for the majority, if not the whole season, more than likely. So then you're looking at a great recruiting class that they just brought in. Sark did a really good job of doing that, but when you're asking 2 or 3, true freshman offensive linemen to start, and then week 2 you play Alabama, it's a little rough. So
yeah,
if Texas does crack the top 25, I think it'll be more towards maybe they might put them in there after week 1 just to make it a ranked matchup between them and Alabama. But I think if they do crack the top 25, it'll be, maybe towards the middle of the year. So
I agree. I agree. All right, let's jump into the ACC.
let's do it.
All right.
All right. Yep. We got a new graphic system up and going. I think it looks really good.
I think so
Um,
too.
so we're going to do something a little different. I know the past 2 episodes we've gone in depth for every single team, but we have already filmed this episode once and it went an hour and 45 minutes, and that was just way too much right now.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the top 2 teams that we have listed in the divisions. So, well, for the Atlantic, as you can see, we're both going to talk about Clemson and NC State. We might not, touch up on a few teams, but we're not going to go into depth about every single one.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll do the same thing with the Coastal Division here in a little bit, and then we'll talk about the ACC Championship game a little bit. And I think that'll do it for the show. But Jance, I'll let you kick us off. You
right.
can start with Clemson or North Carolina State. Don't matter to me.
All right, so I'm gonna start off with Clemson because I know you have a lot to say about Clemson. So I mean, I'm only gonna take a chunk of it, and then I'll leave you for the rest. So I think Clemson has a shot at going 12-0 this year. I don't like predicting that they go perfectly because it's hard to have a perfect season, but I do think that they go perfect in conference, which again, I think is very, very, very hard to do. You don't have very many teams nowadays doing that. But I'm just gonna go through their schedule for y'all. So week 1, I have them beating Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and then I have them beating Furman week 2, beating Louisiana Tech week 3, beating Wake week 4, beating NC State week 5, beating Boston College, beating Florida State, beating Syracuse, and then I have them dropping their first and only loss of the season to Notre Dame, where they go to Notre Dame, Indiana to play. And then I have them finishing the year off strong. I have them beating Louisville, I have them beating Miami, and then I have them beating South Carolina to finish the season off 11-1 and an 8-0 record. I think that, I mean, I know you're going to get more in depth of that defense, but I genuinely do think that defense has a chance to give the Georgia defense last year a run for their money. I mean, I think they got a lot of firepower on that defense, but the only thing that I am scared for is DJ. I don't think DJ is the real deal. We saw that last year. We went into the season, everybody was thinking, oh, he was going to him and Spencer Rattler were the two runners for the opening season. They were the front runners for the Heisman Trophy, and we saw how both of them ended up. Spencer Rattler ended up kind of not doing. I mean, he lost the job to Caleb Williams, and then DJ just was a dumpster fire. His stat line was like what? He threw like 6 touchdowns and had like 6 interceptions, or
It was 10 picks, 9 touchdowns.
there you go. There you go. It was like that's an awful stat line for a quarterback. And I think that if he does the same thing that he did last year, they're going to sit him and they're going to play that incoming freshman that they have.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik.
Yeah. And so I think that they have a chance at going 11-1, but it wouldn't surprise me if they drop a couple losses in there somewhere.
Yeah, I actually have Clemson dropping 2 games, and now I know that this might, I don't know. I'm not like set in stone on what the second loss is going to be, but something just fishy about this team and the offense that they have, and I'm scared that Dabo's going to, play a little bit of QB hokey pokey between DJ and Cade Klubnik, like you were saying. But then again, I mean, he didn't do it when he pulled Kelly Bryant in 2018 and put in Trevor without any hesitation. So at least he has a better reputation. So he might not end up doing it, but there's a feeling in there that, they're going to have a good season. 10-2 is a good season for, 99% of the programs out there. But like I said earlier, I mean, Clemson won 6 straight ACC championships.
Yeah.
Last year's the first one they hadn't made in, I think, 8 years. 7 years, something ridiculous.
Long time, yeah.
And then people are like, they just fell off. Well, I don't think they've fallen off, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they were, when they had Watson and when they had Hunter Renfrow and they had Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they will be like that again this year, but I think they're a really good team.
I agree.
I think them and Alabama have the best 2 defenses in the nation, and I know that Clemson has the best defense in the ACC. I do also have them losing, the game on the road to Notre Dame. And then if I remember correctly, Clemson plays at Florida State this year, correct? You have the schedule printed out in front of you?
Yes, they play at Florida State this year.
That was the one I had them losing. Another one I had them losing. And it's just – but like – Clemson lost on a Wednesday night to a Syracuse team that won like 6 or 7 games in 2017.
Yeah.
So, stuff happens in college football, man. And like, this is why you play the games. Nobody would have thought in 2007 App State was going to beat Michigan.
No.
But yeah, I'll go into depth about Clemson and kind of what's going on over there. They're replacing 2 coordinators. The offensive coordinator, Tony Elliott, he's gone to Virginia. He's their new head coach. They got, obviously Brent Venables gone. He's going back to Oklahoma. He's going to be head coach, first-time head coach over there. Brent Venables obviously very respected at his position. Made that Clemson defense what it is. He won the top assistant coach of the award in 2018. I forgot the name of the award, but I know that Joe Brady at LSU won it the next year. Broyles Award, maybe? Something like that. Anyways, so he's very highly touted and respected in that aspect. Both their coordinators they hired from within the program. They one was the quarterback's coach. He's now the offensive coordinator. His name is Brandon Streeter. And then Wes Goodwin, he was the linebackers coach, and he is now the defensive coordinator. You already kind of talked about DJ versus Cade Klubnik, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But Cade Klubnik, pardon me, my dog's drinking some water at the moment, if you hear that in the background. Cade Klubnik, 5-star recruit, top quarterback in the 2021 class, or 2022 class, I should say, because he's an incoming freshman. We already talked about DJ stats. Threw for a little bit over 2,000 yards, only 9 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Not only is that bad, but like you're playing in the ACC. You're not playing in the SEC. You're not playing in the Big Ten where the defenses are even better. So like you're playing middle of the road defenses, which that's a huge question mark. But the thing is he showed such a high ceiling during the COVID year. When he went on the road to Notre Dame and almost won that game, he was playing lights out.
Yeah.
So he's got it in him. I just hope maybe this year, he can bring it all together. They do have running back Will Shipley returning. He was okay, dealt with a few injuries last year. But I think Clemson gives Alabama a run for their money for best front seven in all of college football. They have 7 returning starters. Brian Brees is defensive tackle leading the way for that team. He's a veteran, All-American, whatever you want to call him. Then you also got guys like they graduated in 2021 class. You got a few starts, and the first guy that comes to mind is Barrett Carter, outside linebacker for Clemson. I think he's going to be very special. He's got all the traits and characteristics that you need, and I think just with time and experience, even the guys that don't have as much experience playing right now, they'll by the end of the year they're going to show that Clemson has really good defense.
Yeah, I agree.
But
And that's I think my whole thing. I want to get back to talk more about DJ. Is the reason I think he was such a dumpster fire last year is because of how much people praised him, and he really didn't show that he was that guy. And then he comes into the season as the front runner of the Heisman Trophy. I mean, if that were me, I'm not I'm gonna be honest. If that was me, that would probably get to my head. That would probably make me think oh, I'm they know I'm good. I don't have anything to prove. But now he's got more to prove. So I think he could be better this year. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Dabo sits him and then starts Cade.
I mean, yeah, we've seen him do it before, so
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't be surprised. But if I had to give Clemson, this is something else I think is a good little comparison. Clemson could go 12-0, win the ACC, and not think twice about it.
Yeah.
But they could also go 9-3 or 8-4. I think that's their floor. And that, once again, not a terrible season, but it's a disappointing season for Clemson. I think 9-3, 8-4, is the bottom that they can go. But I definitely can see them going undefeated. It's just going to come down. I mean, one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football last year, letting DJ get sacked left and right, which didn't help. And I think that also messed with him why he had so many interceptions. Because after week 1 against Georgia, that man was traumatized for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Sacked 7 times in one game.
Hey, man, if I had Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, and
Nolan Smith and Adam Anderson,
all those guys coming after me, I'd be kind of traumatized too. So
yeah. So I think, with adjustments to the offensive line, maybe, a little bit more running the ball, let DJ get confidence to start the year, and then go from there. And, I mean, after week 3, week 4, he's not really performing. Some of these, not putting up that many points. Don't be surprised if you see Cade Klubnik come in and finish the year for Clemson and DJ get entered into the transfer portal. So that's about all I got for the Tigers. If you want to hop into the North Carolina State Wolfpack, go ahead.
All right. So I'm just going to go through real quick, and I'm going to read off their schedule for y'all. I have them finishing 10-2, going 6-2 in conference. So week 1, they play at East Carolina and Greenville. I have them winning at East Carolina. I have them beating Charleston Southern the next week. And then I have them dropping their first game of the season to Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech gets the job done there, gets a sneak win. And then they play UConn the next week. I think they win that. And then they go to Clemson. And I think Clemson pulls that one out. I think NC State drops that one. And then I have them finishing off the year winning outright. I have them beating Florida State, beating Syracuse, beating Virginia Tech, beating Wake, beating Boston College, beating Louisville, and then beating North Carolina. I mean, I think it's a possibility that they could lose to Louisville because Malik Cunningham at Louisville is, in my opinion, I know we had an episode where we talked about the sleepers of the Heisman and all this stuff. I think he could potentially be a sleeper for the Heisman. I get this feeling of him. I'm not going to compare him to Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson is phenomenal, but I think he is a Lamar Jackson 2.0. I think he's amazing at Louisville. I think he can run. I think he can throw. I think he's got all these different weapons in his bag that he could use, and I think that it could be possible for Louisville and Malik to beat NC State and Louisville. And I can also say the same thing about North Carolina. I think North Carolina could sneak a win out from NC State. I know you think the same thing. But I think their floor is 8-4, and I think their ceiling could be 11-1. But I just don't think that they beat Clemson this year with the defense that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I definitely respect North Carolina State because they've always. You see this kind of every few years in the ACC where a different team kind of jumps up, but you could tell that they levitated themselves last year, and they got a lot of production coming back. Quarterback Devin Leary, he's legit. He threw for 3,433 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. That's a really good
That's
stat
impressive.
line.
Yeah.
I believe in him. He made that Clemson, secondary look pretty bad last year when they played them. I have faith in them. I think that they have the second or third best defense in the ACC. I'm obviously behind Clemson. I think them and Miami are kind of neck and neck. But the Wolfpack are going to be something to be reckoned with. Winning there, beat Clemson, had a few good wins last year. Just missed the ACC title game. Wake Forest just nudged it out over them. But for them, I think they could go 11-1. I think they could. I definitely see a loss somewhere on here.
Yeah.
I have them personally losing to Clemson in the middle of the year, and then I also have them losing on the road at North Carolina to end the year, just in heartbreaking fashion. Because at that point, it'd be, actually no, because I have Clemson losing a non-con game, so never mind. Clemson would have already punched their ticket, but that's a New Year. I still think NC State makes a New Year's Six bowl appearance, but
I think
I
so
don't know.
too.
North Carolina kind of going to be like a Mississippi State that I was talking about in the SEC show, going to lose to some teams that they have no business losing to.
And then they're going to beat some teams that they have no business beating.
Yeah, exactly. And, last week of the year, rivalry games, stuff happens. I also could see them, falling off the face of the planet, going 8-4. Anything's possible in this conference that I've, come to learn. The rankings kind of shake every few years. But for the most part, you always have we'll see in the Coastal Division, but like Duke and Georgia Tech have been kind of towards the bottom recently, and Clemson, of course, has been at the top in the Atlantic. But stuff changes. But I do have NC State going 10-2 with losses to Clemson and UNC. So that's what I got to say about the Wolfpack.
I can see that happening.
But there are a few things, a few teams I want to touch up on, not like go in depth. Louisville, you've already covered him. Malik Williams, absolute beast of a quarterback, 39 total touchdowns, 4,000 total yards last year. He can run, he can throw, he can do it all. If he can just get a little bit more throwing down, like you said, he could make a run for the Heisman. I'm not saying, maybe just an invitation. I don't think Louisville as a team is good enough for him to win that award. But they're definitely going to be good. And that's why I have them winning 8 games. I think they're probably the most slept-on team in the ACC. Now, before this show started, I did have Wake Forest ahead of them. And then when I really looked at it, Sam Hartman's not looking like he might not even play at all this year.
Yeah.
It's not looking good for him. And without him, Wake Forest falls off bad.
Yeah.
So, but I am still being respectable. I still think they can, make a bowl game, but nothing too special. And then Florida State, I believe in Mike Norvell that he's going to keep his job, but that's about it. I think they'll keep his job. I don't think he'll lose to an FCS opponent this year, and I think they'll make a bowl game. But that kind of describes it. It's always been Clemson and everybody else. I know you had the years with Lamar where it was, Louisville and Clemson, and then you had Jameis where it was Florida State and Clemson. But I think, especially recently, it's Clemson and everybody else. Now NC State's trying to be that team like a Louisville or like a Florida State in the past to come up and trying to throw the Tigers.
I could definitely see it. Devin Leary is the real deal. And I think I wouldn't be – like I said, I think they lose to Clemson. But if they beat Clemson –
I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Don't be surprised. Yeah. All right. You want to jump into the Coastal?
Yeah, we can go ahead and jump into the Coastal. You want me to lead it off, or you want to do it? All right. There she is. Wow. I know a lot of people. I don't know. This might be harder than Jansen's Kentucky take. Probably not because it's the ACC. But yes, I do have the Hurricanes going 11-1, and I do have them not losing a single conference game. Their one loss is going to be to Texas A&M.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, College Station.
I totally forgot to mention this. I had Clemson going 10-2 with a conference loss to Miami. I did not. I don't even know if I talked about Clemson's record. So my mistake. I have them losing Notre Dame. I have them losing to Miami. So those were their two losses, and that's how
Yeah.
Clemson 7-1, and I have Miami 8-0. When it comes down to it, I think the talent at Miami is just better than everybody else on this list. Pitt's losing a lot. North Carolina, I don't think they're after last year, they've disappointed me for life. I have so high on them, and then they just went right down the drain.
Yeah.
And then after them, I think I don't even know if there's anybody else who's going to give them some real competition. Maybe Brennan Armstrong at Virginia will put on a show against Miami, but I think that defense is good. I think Cristobal's going to get them right. He went there. He's going to bring back the relevancy of what the U stands for. He knows what it's like to play there. He wants to be there. I think the only two jobs he would have left Oregon for is Miami, and then the other one being probably Alabama. I would have never seen him going to USC. Like, I know there's talks about that, talks about him going to Oklahoma. No, it was either going to be Miami, or if somehow the Alabama job opened up, he was going to go there. Amazing recruiter. I think this is going to be just a little spark of what Miami's about to do. But yeah, I got them winning the Coastal. Tyler Van Dyke is legit. He was a third-string quarterback going into last season behind De'Aaron King and then five-star recruit Jake Garcia out of Valdosta, Georgia, who ended up playing in Grayson at the end of the year, but neither here or there. Well, both of them got hurt, and so Tyler Van Dyke stepped in, didn't blink. Great stats last year. Don't have him in front of me, but he's legit. I think, and with the confidence that I think Mario's building over there and surrounding him with good people, it's all recipe for success.
I think so too.
So I'm really excited about that. And then, yeah, you also have Miami win the Coastal. So give me your thoughts.
So I got Miami winning the Coastal. I have them losing one game in conference. I have them losing to Clemson in South Carolina. I know you have Clemson losing that game. I have Miami losing that game. I mean, I think there's an argument for both sides because I think that my thing is that I don't think that Clemson's offense is going to be good enough to keep up with this Miami offense. I don't think DJ is going to be able to keep up with Tyler, and I think that Clemson drops a loss. Sorry, I think that Miami drops it in Clemson and finishes the year 10-2 and 7-1 in conference. And then I have Clemson and Miami, which is no brainer, but Miami and Clemson playing each other in the championship game. As do you.
Yeah, I do as well. Well, I guess we'll just jump right on to Pittsburgh because I'll let you go first because I just read my mouth about Miami for a while. So you can go into Pitt if you'd like to.
Very good. So I got Pitt finishing the year 8-4 and 6-2 in conference. I'm just going to go through their schedule real quick for you, like I normally do. Week 1, I have them playing West Virginia and old JT Daniels. I think JT Daniels' first game back after sitting out most of the season last year because he was hurt. I think that he gets the job done week 1 and he upsets Pitt. I think JT Daniels will do a good. I mean, it's hard for me to say bad things about JT Daniels just because of he went to Georgia and I was a big fan of him. But I mean, I think he's a good quarterback, and I thought that he should have gotten the starting job at Georgia. But I mean, Stetson was proving everybody that he could lead the team to a national championship, which he did. And I think that JT has a chance at going to West Virginia and definitely making an impact. So I have Pitt losing to West Virginia, and then week 2 I have them losing to Tennessee. So I have them finishing the year. Sorry, starting the year 2-0, and then they get their first win of the season at Western Michigan, and then they go on a little streak playing Rhode Island, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. I think they win all those games. I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville beats them, like I said about Miami. Not Miami. Who was NC State. And then I have them dropping their third loss of this season to North Carolina. Then I have them winning the next 3 weeks at Syracuse, Virginia, then at Duke. Sorry, against Duke. And then I have them losing the last game of the season to Miami.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening. For Pitt, what I had written down was they could go 10-2.
Yeah.
They have they have talent. They don't have consistent talent. They don't consistently recruit in the top 25 or top 30, but they do still have some talent. But I also have their floor being 8-4, which is actually what I have them going.
Yeah.
I also have them losing 2 conference games, Miami, and I also have them dropping it one to North Carolina, just a little sleeper game. And then I also have them losing their first 2 games of the year. I have them losing to the backyard brawl to West Virginia, and I have them losing to Tennessee. Like you said, JT Daniels, I think he's going to be a wake-up call. Because I think after week 2, facing 2 gunslinging quarterbacks and JT Daniels and Hendon Hooker, they're going to wake up. Pat Narduzzi's going to get them right. They do have a solid defense. But when you lose Kenny Pickett and you lose Jordan Addison, it is really, really hard to recover from that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people talk about, well, Kenny Pickett, yeah, obviously he's a first-round quarterback. And I know they bring in Keenan Slovis, who's a pretty good recruit, transferred from USC to Pitt this year. But he's not Kenny Pickett, I don't believe. I don't think he has the weapons around him that Kenny Pickett had.
No.
And I wrote this down, and this is very important to realize how good Jordan Addison was and how reliable the Pitt team was and how they won games last year. It was on him. Jordan Addison had 1,600 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 100 receptions. That is a lot. He won the Biletnikoff Award, best receiver in the nation, over Jameson Williams. And after reading these stats, it makes sense. Because I think a lot of people, when that happened, they're like, "Oh, Jameson Williams should have won." Which, don't get me wrong, I think Jameson Williams probably might be a better overall talent.
Yeah,
but
don't lie. Yeah,
but they didn't. Alabama didn't have to just rely on Jameson Williams. They could have thrown those balls to John Mechie. They also had Ajayi Hall sitting on the bench. Pitt doesn't have that. They had Jordan Addison, and the next best leading receiver that's coming back for Keenan Slovis this year, his name's Jordan Wayne. He had 658 yards. That is 1,000 yards less than what Addison had. 6 touchdowns. Addison had more than double that. And he had 47 receptions. Addison had more than double those receptions. They're really going to struggle, I think, to begin the year, but I do think with a solid defense, solid offensive line, maybe they can get a run game going. And Keenan Slovis is not bad. He's just not amazing.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll step it up because, that freshman year that he had when JT Daniels tore his ACL and he stepped into play for USC, they looked pretty solid. So maybe he'll show some flashes. Maybe Jordan Wayne will step up for Pitt. Who knows? But, yeah, Pitt, I do have them losing to West Virginia and Tennessee start the year. They go on a nice little run. They drop 2 more to Miami and North Carolina. So that's what I have for the Pitt Panthers. I know you might want to touch up on a few teams in the Coastal, so just a few little nitbits about every team.
Yeah. So, I'll go through and say a couple things about each team. I don't really have much to say about Duke and Georgia Tech other than they're not going to be they're Duke and Georgia Tech. Duke's
I don't like the nerds to begin with, so
yeah,
as in Georgia Tech, and Duke's a basketball school. So
Duke's
I'm not even going to focus on them.
Yeah. The only thing good about Duke is, Coach K and the unbelievable career that he had. But, it's basketball, not football, so we aren't going to talk about that. And then Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech is a school for smart people. It's not a sports school. They aren't good in any sport.
They used to be pretty solid in baseball, but that's about it. They're not that
other than probably underwater basket weaving, but
Jeff Collins at Georgia Tech's getting fired after this year. So.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's not really much to say about those teams, but I do think that they get a couple wins. Here, I'll tell you the wins that they get. I think Duke beats Temple week 1, and then I think they beat North Carolina A&T week 3. I think those are their only 2 wins of the season. And then Georgia Tech, I have them beating Western Carolina week 2, and then I have them beating Duke later in the season. So
Yeah. Well, for Tech, I got them beating Western Carolina in like week 2 or 3. I don't remember what it is. And then I don't even know if Collins will finish the year as their head coach. He will be fired after this year, no doubt.
yeah,
He's won 9 games in 3 seasons, 3 apiece each year. They have not gotten any better, but I guess you can't say they've gotten any worse either. Duke got a new head coach, Mike Elko. I really don't know a whole lot about him. I didn't even bother to do the research on him. I think they'll beat Georgia Tech this year. I think they'll beat North Carolina A&T, and I think they'll beat Kansas. But that's it.
don't be surprised if they lose to Kansas.
I wouldn't be surprised they lose to Kansas, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they beat Temple. I think,
Yeah,
either one. I think they'll win one of the 2 games.
Yeah.
And I think North Carolina A&T's a lot. The Georgia Tech game's kind of a coin flip because they're both so terrible, but not a lot going on for either one of those 2. So,
yeah.
I did want to touch on Brandon Armstrong real quick.
Okay.
He's a quarterback for Virginia. Kid's legit. He was about to transfer. Tony Elliott gets hired from Clemson. He decides to stay. He threw for over 3,500 yards last year, lots of touchdowns, but they did throw the ball a lot. So he did have a high number of picks. Nothing like drastic. I mean, but it was Brennan Armstrong and everybody else last year because he led the team, or he had the second most rushing yards on the team with about 250. Their leading rusher had only 325. So that's why I have him going 6-6. New head coach, just starting
Starting the
slow.
year Rocky, yeah.
Virginia Tech,
Virginia off Rocky, sorry.
Virginia Tech, new head coach, Pry, the old linebackers coach from Penn State.
Yeah,
I mean, I think, with home field advantage, I can see them sneak out a few wins and whatnot. 7-5 might be a little high. They could definitely go 5-7 or 4-8, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I really don't. I mean, not going to focus too much on them. And then North Carolina, Mac Brown, buddy. It's about time for you to hit the recline chair because
hit retirement.
You're getting up there. They did bring in Gene Chizik as defensive coordinator. Not too shabby. I think the defense is going to be better. Who knows what their quarterback situation's like? I know they had a former 4-star Colby something. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He has very, very limited playing experience because he sat behind Sam Howell for so long. But I've heard good things about him. I heard he likes to run the ball a little bit. But losing talent like Sam Howell, Michael Carter, and Javonte Williams all to the draft, that hurts over the past 2 years. I had high expectations for this team last year. I thought they were going to be the ones to finally beat Clemson. Boy, was I mistaken.
They were the biggest disappointment. I think they were the biggest disappointment in college football last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Them or Clemson,
Yeah. I think the only positive they got coming back is they have a decent defense and that their top receiver from the past 2 seasons is returning for one more. So that might give the quarterback a little bit of confidence. But that's about all I got for the Coastal Division. Anything else you need to add?
No, I think that's it.
All righty.
On the Notre Dame.
We can't forget about the Fighting Irish. We cannot forget about the Fighting Irish. Man, Marcus Freeman, first-year head coach, learned under Brian Kelly last year. He was a defensive coordinator. Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman has Notre Dame top 3 in recruiting for the 2023 cycle, and I know it's not 2023, but that's gonna, just already seeing that type of improvement is really good for the Fighting Irish. Quarterback play is going to be very, very questionable. It always has been. Ian Book was pretty solid, but Tommy Reese is the next one I can think about. He was pretty good, but
they got Tyler Buckner this year.
Yeah, they got Tyler Buckner. I don't know how good he's going to be. I know he had his spurts against Wisconsin and a few other games when Brian Kelly couldn't make up his mind if he's going to play Jack Cohn or him. Pardon me. But yeah, this team definitely. I don't think they're a playoff team. I already said I think they're ranked way too high at number 5. I think they're more of like a 14th ranked type team. I don't think they're a bad team. I just don't think they're a great team.
Yeah.
There is a way that they could just fall off the face of the planet and lose 5 games. But I think there's also a way that they lose that first game against Ohio State and they run the table.
Yeah.
There's a way. It's possible.
I think it's possible too. I think there's definitely I mean, I would not be shocked if Notre Dame were to beat Ohio State week 1.
Yeah. But I think it's definitely going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, but with the recruiting that Marcus Freeman's doing and he's still developing that team a little bit on the younger side, they're always going to have a decent offensive line. They're always going to have a really good tight end. Defensive backs a little questionable. Running back usually above average, and then quarterback play always a little bit below, except for the exception of Ian Book. I thought he was pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have them losing to Ohio State at the first week. I have them losing to USC at the last week of the year, and then I also have them. I mean, UNC. You could change that with a few other teams. I mean, you could put Clemson. You could put a few other teams in there, but I just think they're playing at UNC. And I think UNC, like I said, they're going to be like the Mississippi State of the ACC. They're going to beat teams that they have no business beating, but they're also going to lose some games that they have no business losing. So,
I think so too. I think because I mean, that's probably I know we talked about in our first episode our top 3 things that we're excited for this season, but I mean, I'm really excited to see Marcus Freeman be the head coach at Notre Dame now that because. I mean, I felt for Notre Dame last year. They had a chance at making the playoff, and then Brian Kelly just up and decided to leave and go to LSU.
Yeah, I mean, it was questionable that they could have gotten in over Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if they would have, but I think their chances of making the playoff definitely would have increased if Brian Kelly wouldn't have just said, "All right, see y'all, I'm gone."
I agree.
So
I don't know. I guess he thought that their season was over and they didn't have a shot at making the playoff, but I really do hope that Marcus Freeman does better than Brian Kelly. But that's pretty hard to say because
I mean, Brian Kelly has a really, really high winning percentage. He is. I mean, LSU's not just going to hire some bum. So
no, they're not.
But I think it might take some time. I'm not saying he is going to be Brian Kelly, but I think at the end of the day, whenever, his tenure's done at Notre Dame, they're going to say he either came close or he didn't even come close at all. He's a complete and utter failure. I
think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and I think he knows what he's doing. So I think he could be he could be a great coach.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I think another thing that separates him from Brian Kelly as a pro, like a pro rather than a con, would be he's a little bit younger. He's in his mid-30s. The players can relate to him more. I think he's a little bit more involved. I think he's more like, new school rather than Brian Kelly, a little bit more old school. He's a little bit older, but
yeah,
I don't know. I do think the Irish, I'm excited to see how they do this year. I think 9-3 is a really good spot for them to end up. And I think they will end up being ranked. I just think number 5 right now is way too high.
Yeah, number 5 is way too high right now. That's just because of the way they finished last year. But all right, well, let's get into the ACC championship game.
All right. Well, there it is. We both got Clemson, Miami. Janssen's got Clemson, and I got Miami beating Clemson twice in the same season.
We might have to make a little friendly bet on that one.
I know.
Somebody do a.
The more I look at it, the more I'm just thinking to myself, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But that was my gut feeling. I think Clemson's dropping them. I have a feeling Dabo's gonna choke, and I think Mario Cristobal coming back to his alma mater. I don't know. I just got this gut feeling that Miami. I don't know if they'll make the playoff. I know I have them going 12-1 to win the ACC, but there's a few other factors that I have, in the Big Ten and the SEC, and then Big 12 school or a Pac-12 school like USC or Utah sneak in there. It's always hard to, get that 4th team in your mind before the season. But
I agree.
I mean, I think Miami. I think they're legit, and I think the thing that's going to separate them is when they play Clemson mid-season, they're going to be 5 times better when they play them at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a team. The more that they play together, the better they're going to get,
better
the more
they're gonna get.
confident they're going to feel. Which is why I have them losing A&M. That's like the third week of the year. Third week of the year they play A&M. They're not going to. I don't think they'll be ready yet. And I just think the more they play together, the more confident they're going to get. And I think they're just going to go into this ACC championship game and just be like, we've already beat them once. Why can't we do it twice? I mean,
Yeah.
now I know Mario Cristobal does not have the best track record when it comes to this type of scenario. Last year, he got beat by Utah twice in 3 or 4 weeks.
3 weeks. Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. I just have confidence in him. And I think, Cristobal really is a really good coach, and he's going to make the improvements. And I think Miami football is going to be back.
The U. I see you throwing up the U over there. But, I mean, I think Clemson wins it out just because I think their defense is better. I think their defense, like you said, is going to be lights out this year. So I think that Miami's going to have a tough time because, I mean, we haven't really seen much of Tyler Van Dyke. Like, we haven't. So I think that Clemson wins the ACC, but I don't know if they make the playoff. I genuinely don't.
Clemson winning the ACC 7 out of 8 years. This will be Miami's first ACC championship ever.
With Cade Klubnik as quarterback. DJ's gone. DJ's not in the driver's seat at the end of the year.
I got you.
That's my prediction.
Well,
that's my hot take of the day.
All right. Well, I mean, I think my whole Miami take is the hot take of the episode. So,
oh man, I like it. I mean, it can happen. Like,
it could. That's the thing. That's why you play the game, folks. That's why you play the game.
But if this matchup does happen, you and I have to do a little friendly bet, and somebody's got to do a punishment of some sort.
All right, we can make that happen.
Yeah. All right, man. Anything else you want to add?
Nah, I think that's about it. I know next episode, whenever we're going to try and punch it out before Saturday to finish the Power 5, we'll try our best to find a day. We're going to knock out the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Shouldn't take too long. We're going to probably do more of a, shorter episode like we did today, just focusing on the top teams because, nobody wants to hear about how bad Arizona is going to do, and nobody wants to hear about Kansas this season.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm good. You good?
I'm good, man. I'm great.
All right. Well, I enjoyed it as always.
Yes,
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter at going_for2. And God first, God bless. Y'all have a great day.
Awesome. Thank y'all.